you for stopping by The Life of Sassy and checking out my video today. Today we are going to be making two different muffins. We're going to be making a lemon ricotta muffin and a blueberry sour cream muffin. Let's get right to the baking. Here we have everything I'm going to need to make the lemon ricotta muffins. I always like to start by measuring my dry ingredients into a bowl so they can be set off to the side to be added later. In this bowl I'm adding 2 cups of all-purpose flour, half a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and lastly I'm going to go ahead and add in half a teaspoon of salt, and then I'm going to give this a good whisk. Next, in my stand mixer, I'm going to go ahead and add in half a cup or 1 stick of butter. And yes, I am struggling hard with this butter. It's in this container because I just put it in the microwave for a few seconds to soften it. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to crack in 1 egg, which I also slightly struggle with. And lastly, I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 cup of sugar. Now I'm going to go ahead and mix these until light and fluffy, about 3 to 5 minutes. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in 1 cup of ricotta cheese, and then I'm going to zest 1 lemon. In the original recipe calls for 1 tablespoon of lemon zest. I use a whole lemon. As always, the original recipe will be linked below. And then I'm going to eyeball in a tablespoon of fresh lemon juice. And lastly, I'm going to add a teaspoon of lemon extract. And then I'm going to turn my mixer back on and incorporate until well mixed. When everything is well combined, I'm going to add my dry ingredients in 2 additions, and then I'm going to mix until just combined, careful not to overmix. This is an extremely thick dough, so don't be concerned. Now that everything's been mixed, I've got my greased muffin pan and I'm portioning out my muffins. As I mentioned, this batter is really thick, so I don't like to use a muffin scoop because I'm afraid I'm going to break it. So I'm going to portion them out by hand. When these are done, they're going in a 350-degree oven for 20 to 22 minutes. My muffins took exactly 20 minutes, but my oven does tend to run hot. These are so good, but I think next time I might try adding blueberries. You definitely need to try these. Next, we're going to be making blueberry sour cream muffins. I'm subbing Greek yogurt, but as always, that original recipe will be down in the description below. Let's get baking. Let's get started by putting together our dry ingredients. In my bowl, I'm going to measure out 2 cups of flour. Then I need a teaspoon of baking soda and a 1/4 teaspoon of, correction, that was a teaspoon of baking powder, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. And we're just going to go ahead and give this a mix. Now for this recipe, it calls to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. The last time I made these by mistake, I only preheated to 350. And I found they came out great at 350. They didn't quite get as crunchy on top. So I'm going to go ahead and preheat to 350. But as you'll see in the original recipe linked below, it does call for 375. In my mixing bowl, I've gone ahead and cracked 2 eggs. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in a cup of sugar. And then we need to add in a teaspoon of salt. And now we're going to take a hand blender and mix this together for about 3 to 5 minutes until it's light and fluffy. And to this, I'm going to go ahead and add in a teaspoon of vanilla And then we need a cup of sour cream. I'm actually substituting Greek yogurt. It's just a preference, not to mention I do find Greek yogurt is a little bit cheaper right now than sour cream, but it's up to you. You can use Greek yogurt or sour cream, whichever you prefer. And now we're going to add in half a cup of vegetable oil. And now we're going to go ahead and mix this for about a minute until well incorporated. Now we need to add in our dry ingredients. You're going to add in your dry ingredients in 3 parts. This is a super thick batter. After you make the second edition, you're probably going to think that that looks like enough flour, but trust me, it all works out in the end. But because of that, generally I can't mix in all of the flour with my hand mixer, so I'll just take a spatula and mix the rest of it in by hand. I just don't want to overwork the dough or the muffins will become a little tough. Now we're going to go ahead and add our blueberries. The recipe calls for 1.5 cups. I always eyeball it. And as I did this, I just realized I kind of messed up. So do as I say, not as I do. You should take your blueberries and in a bowl combine your blueberries and a tablespoon of flour. I forgot to do that, but it'll be okay. It's not the first time I've forgotten, I'm not going to lie. And yes, my blueberries here are a little bit on their last legs. I meant to make these muffins earlier, and I didn't. So I'm going to use the blueberries I can out of this, and then I do have another container for some fresher blueberries. I've gone ahead and sprayed my muffin pan with some nonstick spray. Whenever making fruit muffins, I always make sure to coat my tray really well because I do find the fruit will stick. And now I'm just portioning out my muffins. Now you will notice I am not using a muffin scoop, which I normally do, well, a cookie scoop. I normally do to make sure my muffins are all equally divided, but because this batter is so thick, I am afraid it's going to break the release mechanism in my cookie scoop, so I opt to just use a spoon. Now I'm going to pop these in the oven for about, the recipe says 25 to 27 minutes, but I know my oven runs a little hot, so I'm going to check these at 22 minutes. My muffins have come out of the oven right at 22 minutes. I checked them with a toothpick. They're cooked. I'm going to let them cool for about 5 minutes, then I will take them out of the pan and let them cool completely on my baking rack. Here we have the final product. These muffins are so amazing, but I am a sucker for any muffin with yogurt or sour cream in them. Definitely give these a try, and I hope you enjoy them. Thank you for stopping by The Life of Sassy. I really hope you enjoyed this video and enjoyed being in the kitchen with me today. If you did, please consider giving me a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please consider joining my YouTube family by clicking that subscribe button. Thank you again for watching. Have a wonderful day, everyone.